Let's get it. Mike Sempervive here with you for the next hour talking about professional wrestling, which is something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Tune in, iHeart, American Forces Radio, sportsbyline.com, over-the-air affiliates like KMAV, 99 KMSR, and the mightier 1090 podcast, replays on Sirius XM, or maybe you're video streaming on Twitch or YouTube. However you're joining me today, I'd just like to say thank you. Hopefully wherever you are, it's sunny outside. And if not, hopefully it's sunny inside your mind. Sunny where I'm at. Finally, after 18 hours of rain that we just got on my portion of Delmarva. A lot of wind going on right now, though, so I'll apologize in advance if you hear some of the swirling winds outside whistle through the windows of this old house. Considering the podcast that some of you listen to, some of that air whistling through the cracks in the windows may be a better audio experience, but you never know. I'll speculate that Brian Alvarez is enjoying his time in Hawaii. He'll be rejoining the show after Christmas. Rejoining the show after missing Friday due to being paid to fight. Filthy Tom Lawler is back, and he'll fill us in on his adventures over the last few days. Not only did Filthy Tom face off against Wheeler Yuta for the ROH Pure title at Final Battle on Friday, but he also did battle for Time Bomb Pro in both Fargo and Minneapolis. We'll let you know how that went, and we'll also give our thoughts on the rest of Final Battle as well. And everything else that happened over the weekend. It was another busy weekend. We had not only ROH, but WWE Smackdown, AEW Rampage, and Collision, and CMLL's Friday Night Arena Mexico show. I've seen just about all of it, so we'll see what we have time to get into today. Tonight, of course, is Monday Night Raw from the Wells Fargo Center in Des Moines, Iowa. Shout out to Frank Alvin Gotch. Being from Davenport, Iowa, it's Seth Rollins' country. We'll see if that means anything for the reaction of CM Punk. I assume Punk's going to be there. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but we'll let you know what they officially do have announced for tonight when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live.
Welcome back to Rent-to-Own Auto Arena. The next match on tonight's Portland wrestling card. Beautiful Brian Alvarez versus Adam Firestorm. This match is being brought to you in part by 1-800-OWN-A-CARD.
Fans, just like we said, right back with another match. Adam Firestorm from Auckland, New Zealand versus beautiful, or so self-proclaimed beautiful, Brian Alvarez. LC, this should be another great matchup.
Well, pardon me if I'm not completely into this matchup. Every time Miss Rent-to-Own Auto comes out, I can't help but stare at her two big, beautiful blue eyes, brother.
Well, I believe that that is what you're focused on for sure, LC. Miss Rent-to-Own Miss Rent-to-Own Auto, not happy with Brian Alvarez 2 weeks ago when he was losing to the grappler. But last week, a victory over Ed Moretti, and all seemed happy with the lovely one.
Well, he's lovely, yes. He wants to be the pampered cow, but maybe he'll turn into spoiled milk, Jack.
We got Adam Firestorm from Auckland, New Zealand, been dying to come into Portland wrestling. Brian Alvarez claiming that he pulled his hair. Obviously, he did not. Referee Mark Watson checking. He will have to keep a close look on the devious Brian Alvarez. I would rather call it the beautiful one. There he is, whipped into the ropes. Off he comes. Shoulder tackle puts Adam Firestorm down. Back and forth action. Brian Alvarez flying big hip toss by Adam Firestorm. Another one puts Brian Alvarez down. Drop kick down on his back was Brian Alvarez. He's going to dive outside. Take a moment. Miss Rent-to-Own Auto not looking very happy right there, LC.
No, she's not. And youth gone wild, brother. Adam Firestorm is banging people like he's in a mosh pit, brother.
Adam Firestorm going outside, going to chase Brian Alvarez right back in. Adam Firestorm likes to control the action inside the ring. Oh, Brian Alvarez catches Adam Firestorm coming in with a kick in the middle rope, putting him down. Now a boot to the face. Adam Firestorm maybe a little too energetic outside, LC, not taking enough care of himself.
That's right. He was all fired up, but that'll take the wind right out of his sails, and he need not worry about Miss Rent-to-Own Auto now after that shot in the gonads he just took.
And then a hard whip into the back Small of the back really put Adam Firestorm down. Brian Alvarez, now he's pulling his shirt over his head. Big chop across the chest. Adam Firestorm now, he's firing back. There's 1, 2. Now he's got Brian Alvarez. He whips him into the corner hard. Adam Firestorm following up, catches a boot to the face.
Welcome back to the show. Mike Sempervive here with you. You know we do this show right here for an hour at a time every single day, but if you want us 24/7, you can find us on Twitter/X, at Sempervive, at Brian Alvarez, at Filthy Tom Lawler, at Jim Valley, and of course, at Sports Byline USA. I'd also like for you to make the wrestling news part of your day, everything you need to know to get your day started, get you up to date, or get you to your favorite wrestling review pod, like Wrestling Observer Radio, with Dave and Garrett. Because Brian Alvarez isn't here. No, he's not even doing that show while he's over in Hawaii. He was serious this time. He is taking time off. Vinny and Craig did the Figure 4 Daily Show on Sunday. No Brian Alvarez. We're just getting pictures sent to us, making sure that everything's okay. Him tanning himself on the beach. That is not a part of the wrestling news, but all of the wrestling news you need to know is just go to thewrestlingnews.com, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. We're at Wrestling News AV on Facebook and Twitter. Ring of Honor final battle was Friday. Curtis Caldwell Center, Garland, Texas. And I have 3 questions to start this show, Filthy Tom Lawler. 3 questions for you. We will take them individually once at a time. 1, please for me, tell me you wrecked shop on catering. That's number 1.
1,000%. I took home 3 containers of food back to the hotel. I took home a bucket, a gallon of ice to put on my genitals after they were unceremoniously booted by a cheating loser, Wheeler Yuta. I had peanut butter brownies.
Ooh.
Caramel salted chocolate chip cookie.
Ooh.
Cheesecake.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I made sure to get my money's worth out of old TK Promotions there. So much. I had such a good time, I want to say, actually, Mike, despite what happened in the match, that I cheered on the Jaguars yesterday as they were soundly defeated.
Shame on you for everybody back in my home territory of Balmer that you would say such a thing. And I got to be honest, though, Filthy, you talk about such a good time that you had. You talked about the catering, which sounds like money was spent on the catering, and money was apparently spent on Brian Keith's still tipping. So question number 2, why didn't you demand, like, Run the Jewels so my videos that I make would actually be timely and important, or even Seal that everybody likes? Why not that?
I will say Run the Jewels is a great group, but a lot of people use Run the Jewels as their entrance music. If I was going to choose like a current rap star, current rap hip-hop super group, maybe to represent myself, I think I'd go with Czarface.
Ooh.
Actually.
I like Czarface. So. Esoteric. They did the great collab with MF Doom. They actually have some new stuff out, too, but that's not important right now.
Artificial Intelligence.
Yes.
Dropped last week or the week before.
Really good. I heard it on Woo Wednesdays on the RZA show on 43 there on Sirius XM. But,
Esoteric is a wrestling fan, so we can give him a shout out here.
Yes. Question number 3, though, Filthy. We can't put this off any longer. We cannot. Okay? Should you not have known that Ring of Honor has crooked referees and that Tony Khan runs the sloppy shop? Should you not have known that going into that match? Because you got ripped off. Bottom line is you got ripped off. I knew you were not walking out of there with that title, and I didn't think you could lose because Wheeler Yuta is a pansy, and I am not impressed by him whatsoever. Maybe a little bit impressed after this, but leading into the match, I wasn't impressed with him whatsoever. What happened there? What happened with these referees? What is going on?
I got hosed.
Yeah,
That's
you did.
What happened. The referee failed to call some infractions that were clearly against the pure rules. I'm not quite sure what happened at the finish. I believe my shoulder was up.
It was.
Or my leg was in the ropes. I can't even tell you, Mike. I've had such a disappointing run somewhat recently in some of these matches. And people online often say it. I'm snake bitten. And it seems to continue to be the case. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get another shot at this Pure Rules title. Maybe I won't.
If Yuta knows what's good for him, they won't. I don't think ROH is in too big of a hurry to push this along because they know what is going to happen. Now, I've seen a lot of your matches, and I got to be honest, maybe I've missed this before. When did you start incorporating the arm capture tombstone pile driver into the repertoire? I liked that.
When you work over the arm, sometimes things present themselves in the matches as it's going on. And maybe you've been watching some of the other matches on the show. Maybe you've been watching some Masakatsu Funaki, a fellow mixed martial artist, and you decide you're going to break out one of his finishers. But, Mike, that was a cool move, but it seemed like a lot of people really enjoyed the simple double wrist lock superplex.
Dude,
off the top. So
I wanted to ask you about that.
I will keep that one in the repertoire.
I added that to the video. I had to. And check my Twitter after the show is over. After the show is posted, I'll put that video up there with that in there. I mean, like, kayfabe aside for a minute here, that is, to me, every time I've seen moves akin to that, for both people, especially the one taking it, I mean, that is, to me, it seems like a dangerous move. Am I being too big of a mark as I sit here right now and watching that when it is such a visually impressive move?
Of course it's dangerous when you have someone like me doing it to you, Mike. It's death-defying when you actually survive such a maneuver. And actually, I will give Wheeler Yuta some credit because his arm, I believe, is still attached to his body against all conventional wisdom. But, he escaped with the win. I don't know if you watched the Ring of Honor show, the entire show, but
I did.
Everything I saw was awesome.
Well, I mean, dude, were there Bill Watts rules where you had to stay to the end of the show? And if that was the case, did they give you a pillow and a blanket as well? And this is not because of the boredom of what was taking place in the ring, because I know if you're an ROH fan, you were in rapture because there were bonus matches, there was time put into everything. But if you're not an ROH first fan, and not purely an ROH fan, it was a interminable show. I mean, it was over 5 hours long, including the pre-show. If you're completely insane, Tony Khan then went for another 2+ hours in the post-show scrum. And I watched the CMLL show live, and that started at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. It was over at 11:50. The ROH show started at 7 and was over after midnight, and they absolutely gave Ring of Honor fans everything they wanted and then some, but 5 hours, what for you were some of the highlights that you remember coming out of it?
Well, obviously the main event was, I thought, fantastic. I mean, there's some, you could nitpick matches all you want, but the story and the build-up between Billy Starks and Athena, I thought was great. I was surprised to see Athena retain in the end and then have Billy Starks kind of go back under her wing. But Billy Starks has a long time in front of her. We think. after seeing some of the bumps she takes in these matches.
For real.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, and maybe they should have pulled the trigger right here and put the belt on her. But I think there's more that you could do, obviously, with Athena and Billy Starks and Lexi, together. So I'm interested to see how that goes. That match, they pulled out all the stops there. Without breaking kayfabe too much, the backstage scene after the BCC and FTR and Mark Briscoe match, it would look like a war scene back there. Blood everywhere, flesh everywhere, guys going into the trainer's room to get checked out, people that look like they don't want to live another day on this planet because they're in so much pain. So that was brutal. But what else did you expect? A fight to honor Jay Briscoe.
It was absolutely awesome, and like you mentioned, they gave Athena and Billy Starks all of the time that they needed to tell the story that they've been telling and to put at least a period on it for right now. We'll get into the rest of Final Battle as well as the rest of the weekend and tonight's Monday Night Raw when we get back. Wrestling Observer Live.
Excuse me, the twins. Yeah.
Mike Sempervive here alongside Filthy Tom Lawler, talking about the ROH Final Battle show that took place. I knew they weren't going to end that match with a double countout. But for a second, I was thinking, oh, God, what are they doing? After 20 minutes, FTR and Mark Briscoe fought the Blackpool Combat Club to a double countout, and then they had a fight without honor, and it was insane. You want to see Cash Wheeler bleed? Boy, it was a weekend for Cash Wheeler. He got called out on Collision by the House of Black, but then bled like a stuck pig in this match. The total time, I think the fight without honor went for another 11 or 12 minutes, but ultimately it is Mark Briscoe and FTR getting the victory there. You know, it seemed like it was... Again, anytime Jay Briscoe's name is invoked, and it's hard not to invoke it every time you see Mark Briscoe walk out there and wrestle. You talked about just the carnage that was strewn about with bodies and such. It was like a mash unit backstage after they got done, but... You know, how much is that presence of Jay Briscoe still, you know, a part of the DNA of Ring of Honor, even though we're under a new owner? But, you know, what's his presence like when it comes to these matches and having Mark around?
I mean, obviously, you're never going to be able to separate the Briscoes from Ring of Honor. You know, if there's any names out there, you could throw in some other people, Samoa Joe, you know, some of the early guys, Christopher Daniels, but the Briscoes, you know, never left, essentially. They were stalwarts in Ring of Honor for the majority of the time that the company, you know, was around and still is around. And to me, it's like Mark Briscoe is the representative of Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? And as obviously a default or as part of that, Ring of Honor is a representation of Jay Briscoe as well. And I think that the longer Ring of Honor is alive, the more, I guess, the more, like, Jay Briscoe will become more important as time goes on in the realm or the history of professional wrestling. And I think that's a good thing.
TK Stack Money, listen to me. We can do this show. Delmarva Shorebird Stadium. Mark Briscoe against whoever the ROH champion is there. Bill to that. I can guarantee you it'll be great. Plus, it'll be close to my house. And at this point in my life, that's what I'm looking for. Events that are close to my house. And if they do happen to be close to my house, Kyle Fletcher may be defending the Ring of Honor World Television Championship if he still holds on to it. Did outlast Brian Keith, who, again, if you're going to pay for still tipping, you're going to make sure you get 2 shows out of that deal. But Brian Keith looked good. Him, Dalton Castle, Commander Lee Johnson, and Lee Moriarty in that match. Kyle Fletcher got rid of Commander at the end, and I was a little surprised by that. I thought actually Commander was going to get the shine there, but it makes sense to me considering that Kyle Fletcher, look, as a singles, he still needs to work on promos. He still needs to become established in the United States. And with Mark Davis not around, this is a pretty darn good deal, I think.
I think it's the perfect title for Kyle Fletcher to win. You know what I mean? It puts a belt around his waist. It gives him some confidence. He has been kind of by de facto the whipping boy of sorts when it comes to the Callis family.
Yeah.
He would be the lowest ranked on the totem pole between Takeshita, Hobbs, Will Ospreay, you know, so it's good. It's good for Kyle Fletcher.
If this is the Bobby Heenan family, like, he's Hercules. He's one screw up away from getting pushed out of there.
I think he's 2 steps above Hercules if we're talking about in-ring acumen here. But yeah, I think this
we weren't.
Kyle Fletcher put out an interesting post afterwards, and he said that this is a future where he alone gets to write what's coming up. So seems like a kind of a step away, obviously, from Aussie Open. As I don't know when Mark Davis is coming back. They're a great team, but hey, Kyle Fletcher is pretty awesome as a singles, and so is Mark Davis as well. So
Absolutely. I Quit match, Ethan Page and Tony Nese. You know, this is another match that I cannot complain got the time that it needed to have, 20 minutes long. Mark Henry came out to make sure that Mark Sterling was handcuffed to the ring post. Of course, he ended up getting the key and escaping, which led to Scorpio Sky coming out to make the save and get rid of Sterling. Nese was able to handcuff Page to increase the drama, but the ref eventually unlocked him. Basically, Page hit Nese with a chair and choked him out until Nese said that he quit. I thought this was, again, really, really good, too. And if you have not been a regular watcher of ROH, and I haven't been, I had to catch up on this, but I thought they were telling a good story during this. And if you only watch Collision and Rampage and the AEW shows, yeah, they talked about it and referred to it when Page wrestled Omega and who was going to be the champion of all of Canada and the representative of all of Canada, but they did a really great job here. And I think in this space, you know, I don't want it to sound like an insult, but man, Ethan Page as an ROH champion or an ROH world champion, you know, in that mix, I like that for him.
Yeah, I do too, but is that ROH World Title going to be around? You know what I mean? Isn't it getting absorbed in the Triple Crown? So
that's true.
Then I think you're looking at maybe a situation where what would be next? The TV title would be the next highest on the totem pole, I guess.
It would be, although I guess it just depends on what this Continental Classic Championship belt is going to be. I think it's going to be around the waist of Kingston, which would continue on, you know, being able for him to wrestle in ROH and all that. It will be interesting to see exactly what they decide to do with that belt and how they break it out. But I would assume, I'm at least assuming it's going to be a part of ROH's future going forward. Now, I think you could have shaved off at least 20 minutes off like the next 5 matches, because these clocked in at almost an hour, 52 minutes. They didn't need all of these matches on there. Again, if you're an ROH fan, you're just saying, you know, fatty, shut up. Look, I know, but I think I'm speaking for the general fan here. But the AAA Mega title, I would have cut a little bit of time off of this, but this was spectacular if you love Vikingo and Black Taurus. Taurus is such a underrated base, such an underrated guy for all of these guys who fly around. You know,
who's underrating Black Taurus at this point? Because every time his name gets brought up, it seems like people understand how good this guy is. You know what I mean?
I hope they do.
I hope so, too, because he's spectacular. He's one of the best bases, if not the best, right? You'd have to say him or Gringo Loco.
That's it. Him and Gringo Loco, but they don't get, because of the spectacular moves. I mean, Vikingo, I think it was a 630. I don't know how many rotations exactly it was, but Black Taurus is standing on the floor.
Yeah.
And Vikingo comes up with like a 630 and lands on his feet. It's like, I don't know. It's mind-blowing what these guys can do, and it's mind-blowing what Taurus has got to stand there and take from a guy like Vikingo. But again, that went about 17 minutes. Again, really fun stuff. That's how they opened up the pay-per-view, and I thought that was a really good way to open up the pay-per-view. World Six-Man Tag Team titles, this went too long. You could have cut 4 minutes off of this. I would have been happy. Mogul Embassy over TMDK. Man, maybe Bad Dude Tito can do in Japan what I would have wanted Jeff Cobb to do, but they obviously aren't doing that. But Bad Dude Tito, who you've crossed paths with before, a member of TMDK, I thought he was kind of the standout of this match.
A lot of times he is when you see him in there. You want to talk about underrated guys, I think Bad Dude Tito is at the top of that list. He can do almost anything. He looks like $999,000. He's big, strong. He wears a choker now, which is always cool, taking it back to the late 90s, early 2000s. So always a big fan of the old Bad Dude.
And if he ever got rid of the Bad Dude, he's got a pretty cool shoot name too. Tito Escondido is a strong name. You can go out there and use that name. Keith Lee and Shane Taylor. This went, I can understand because they've been feuding and they have had history and all that. I thought this went too long, but again, fun match. I kind of wish Shane Taylor would have got the victory, but obviously Keith Lee is planning on going back after Swerve, I guess. But Taylor hit a Canadian Destroyer on Lee from the top rope. Those are two large men doing a Canadian Destroyer from the top rope, but that was fun. Now, the most perplexing matches in my mind to be added to the show, and I guess they did this for a reason, but Eddie Kingston defeats Anthony Henry, proving ground match. If Henry would have won, he would have got the first shot at whoever wins the Continental Classic Championship, and then Nyla Rose defeated Vert Vixen. They added that to the show as well. I mean, maybe with the Von Erichs being added to the show against the Outrunners on 0 Hour, they wanted to bump something up or something like that. But again, a lot of matches on this show. Daniel Garcia and Blake Christian had a short, fun, about 10-minute match or so on the pre-show as well too. So a lot of stuff took place on Friday night, as did WWE Smackdown and AEW Rampage, and we'll talk about those shows when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live.
Your next contest this evening is a hair versus hair match.
Show. Mike Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawler here with you, Wrestling Observer Live. We got a lot of stuff to continue to get into here today, but honestly, Tom, I mean, you talked about it at the beginning of the show. You've been having a rough time here recently. I am scared to bring this up with you right now because you're in the mood. In fact, he just got up and walked away, folks. He just got up and walked away because he knew what was coming out of my mouth, which was to ask him about what took place at Time Bomb Pro on Thursday in Fargo. He lost to a kid by the name of Tyler Colton. And on Saturday in Minneapolis, Time Bomb title, a no-ring match, lost to a dude named Jordan. Now, I don't want to discount Jordan here at all. He defeated Brian Keith on Thursday's show to win the Time Bomb title. But when Filthy gets back here, I want to ask him about what took place in those matches and what went on there. But Monday Night Raw is tonight from, where did I say it was from? Des Moines, Iowa. That's right, Des Moines, Iowa, the Wells Fargo Center. This is going to be the last live Raw for 2 weeks, as the company will be running a best-of show on Christmas night. Drew McIntyre will be addressed by Seth Rollins. As I mentioned,
Excuse me?
Yes.
Undressed?
No, as I addressed earlier.
Oh.
No, not undressed. I hope Seth Rollins isn't undressed. We've already had a situation with him undressed before, and we shall not go back and talk about that. He'll be addressing Drew McIntyre, though. They've added a Miracle on 34th Street fight between R-Truth and J.D. McDonough. Gunther faces Miz for the Intercontinental title in the Judgment Days. Damian Priest and Finn Balor defend the WWE World Tag Team title against Brutus and Julius Creed. And Chelsea Green and Piper Niven defend the WWE Women's World Tag Team Championship against Caden Carter and Katana Chance. Filthy, before you got up and ran away there, was that because I was going to ask you about what took place on Friday and or Thursday and Saturday at Time Bomb Pro? What happened up there? Who is this kid Jordan? Jordan. You lost to a guy with one name, and it's not even a good one. Jordan.
Well, Mike, you mentioned my weekend at Time Bomb Pro. I did face the new Time Bomb Pro champion, Jordan, on Saturday night, who, by the way, defeated Brian Keith on Thursday to win that belt.
So he's not a bum. We know that.
He took his bounty and kept it. The fun god Jordan did in fact defeat me after a splash off of a scissor lift, a crossbody off the top of a scissor lift through a table at a wedding venue in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in front of a couple hundred people.
Did you just call that boy the fun god? The fun god?
I did.
I'm looking at his names here from the past, and I would assume with a name like the Fun God and looking at some of these other names, this man is a Chikara veteran. He has went by the names, folks: Atomic Super Thunder Frog, Estonian Thunder Frog, Estonian Farmer Frog, Thunder Frog, Super Thunder Frog, Jordan, Jamal Kills, and Chaos 300. Seems to be a big difference between Estonian Thunder Frog and Jamal Kills.
Jamal Kills is a pretty sweet name.
It is a pretty good name,
I must say. Yeah, I believe he would be a Chikara devotee from the past. But I don't do my research anymore. I'm all over the place, Mike. I got too much going on. I got to watch Smackdown every week. There's people coming back every week causing a ruckus. A couple weeks ago, it was Randy Orton. Now, AJ Styles is back. Both guys. I guess UFC got rid of USADA, and TKO has just kind of followed suit at the top of the chain.
Well, you know, if you're Endeavor, I mean, you're in the business of representing movie stars, and look what some of these movie stars, like Dwayne Johnson and such, you know, look how they look when they go into these movie roles that they have. Look at the entire cast of the Von Erichs.
How amazing, Mike, is it that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, found the one guy he could portray that was bigger than him, and now I would argue that The Rock might have to take steroids to be as big as Mark Kerr. Just amazing.
Mark Kerr was gigantic. The Rock, most of the time you see him, is gigantic. Randy Orton, we said, was gigantic when he came back. AJ Styles is gigantic coming back. I mean, unbelievable. Just, he had about a month off or so. I don't know how long it's been, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it's been, but the man has been working out diligently in that time, comes back during the main event to save what we thought save LA Knight and Randy Orton from a beatdown from the Bloodline, but then goes and lays out LA Knight with a forearm, leaves the ring, walks by the Bloodline, and that's how the show went off the air. So some drama there, and what seemed to be a really easy setup for a six-man tag between the two sides, now not so easy.
Yeah, definite drama. I'm trying to remember through my notes, through my, the limited amount of brain cells I still have, if there was any beef between AJ Styles and LA Knight in the past. And from what I remember, it was the Bloodline that took out AJ Styles. So obviously you have that built in there, but I don't remember. Maybe there was an issue between them when LA Knight was still working as a heel prior in the summer. I'd have to go back and check if anybody
maybe
out there
AJ
remembers.
wanted to be a model and went up to Max Dupree, and then he shot him down or something like that. There was the fact that when AJ did get laid out and got loaded into that ambulance, it was LA Knight that took his spot and ended up having that match with Roman Reigns teaming up with John Cena against the Bloodline, and then getting the world title match against Roman Reigns. And it seemed to be from the interaction that he had earlier in the night with Randy Orton, considering LA Knight was still being pretty cocky and obnoxious. He was just being LA Knight, I guess. But, he's a good guy right now, but he still has the ability to seemingly rub people the wrong way at the drop of a hat.
Well, why should he kowtail to Randy Orton? You know what I mean? Just because Randy Orton shows up, why should LA Knight take a backseat to him? He has his own issues. He was screwed over by the Bloodline as well. They have done I think, a really good job recently of setting up a number of contenders, not necessarily for Roman Reigns, but people who you believe could win the Royal Rumble. Right? And I actually think it seems as if they're going towards Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, which, of course, is a big match. But I think if Randy Orton was in the Rumble itself, it would add a huge amount of intrigue to his comeback, because you'd be wondering, is he going to get that title shot? Is he going to get the match that he's been looking for the past 18 months? And you would have another contender in there, because the way I look at it now, we have, obviously, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. You've got LA Knight in the mix. You could always make a case, of course, for Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens, although it seems they've been out of the loop a little bit. Jimmy Uso as well. And we can't forget, it seems as if in the not too distant future, we're going to have Jimmy Uso on the babyface side as well.
That's possible. The interaction between the Bloodline, between Roman Reigns, Solo, and Jimmy was fantastic. I don't believe Paul Heyman uttered a word in the segments that they were in, but just everything about it. When Roman came out and said, hey, there's, if I fall, there's going to be one man that keeps everybody, this group, the Bloodline, at the top of the mountain. One man has bent over backwards this entire time, sacrificed himself, and knows what it takes to be the tribal chief. And Roman looked over. It's Jimmy, who hyped up everybody coming down to the ring, and he was all into it. And there it was. Roman turned to him and said, Jimmy, join me in welcoming Solo Sikoa as your next tribal chief. And he embraced him, gave him a big hug, and Jimmy, you saw, was crestfallen. Then later on, Roman makes the match. It's going to be Randy Orton against Jimmy Uso tonight. Jimmy's like, hey, Solo, this sounds like a great job for Solo. He's going to be, the next heir. He's the tribal chief, right? And Roman said, no, but look, you got to understand, it's promotion season. So I'm sure Promotion SZN will be appearing on some merchandise real soon. He says that to Jimmy. Jimmy starts to feel good about himself, gets excited, says yeet, which Roman didn't like. They slowly look at each other. No yeet. And Jimmy Uso goes out there. A little bit later on, Jimmy and Solo. Jimmy's backstage. He says, man, Heyman's not talking. This feels like a setup, man. Like Solo, if I'm being set up, you tell me, right? You tell me, right? Solo finally says, we're brothers. But as he does so, he's getting that Samoan spike thumb, just kind of letting that go. And Jimmy looks at it and just kind of is resigned to knowing his fate as he went out there. And obviously, everybody stayed together. Solo came out right before the end. LA Knight chased him off. Jimmy ends up losing via RKO, which led to all of the carnage at the end, and AJ Styles coming back out. But did you I love that interaction between them. I know a lot of people are tired of the Bloodline storyline and everything, but I think they keep it fresh enough for me, at least, again, in the small times Roman is there, his interaction really makes it. And Jay on Raw and Jimmy on SmackDown now, being apart, again, they were great together as a team, but, we did see almost everything we could possibly see of them. This Bloodline storyline, as far as them as singles, I think they've done a great job.
I've really liked the progression, although it seems as if Jimmy is in essentially the same place as he has been the past few months, being the underling to Roman Reigns, being a member of the Bloodline. But his progression as a character has been great because he's no longer like the puppy dog trying to get back in. He understands what's happening. He knows that he's being set up, that he's being kind of left by the wayside and being used by the Bloodline. And as he slowly comes to terms with that, he turns more and more babyface. He becomes more and more of a sympathetic character. And I think that when he finally turns, it's going to be just as big of a reaction as when Jay did.
Carmelo Hayes defeated Grayson Waller. Kevin Owens defeated Austin Theory in the U.S. title tournament first round. There were inset promos of Logan Paul insulting both baby faces and hyping up Waller and Theory. Kevin Owens, obviously, this feels like it is leading towards Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. Logan said Kevin Owens dresses like a fifth grader who takes dodgeball during PE way too seriously. I thought that was a good line there. But again, they'll face off next week alongside Bobby Lashley against Santos Escobar, which hopefully ends up being a really good match. The only other thing really coming out of this was Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux are getting another shot again, Tom. I know we don't have a whole lot of time here left in this segment, but what do you think about another push of Karrion Kross? Hunter hired a lot of guys back, Bronson Reed, DIY, guys like that, gave him pushes again. Seems to really be about Karrion Kross.
Well, it's a different gimmick than anybody else up there has. When you look at the lay of the land, I don't see too many spooky guys out there. Not too many people using magic as part of the act besides Karrion Kross and what's her name? Alva Edison?
It's a Scarlett Bordeaux.
No, not her.
Oh.
That tag team.
Oh, Alba and Isla.
Yeah.
Well, we
need a good spookster nowadays,
I guess we do. Danhausen can't be the only one putting hexes and curses on everybody. Although we'll talk about NXT tomorrow when it comes to Tatum Paxley and whatever the hell it is she's doing, but we don't want to rush that. Let's go to break. Wrestling Observer Live. Back on the show, Mike Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawler here with you, putting a bow on this thing, Wrestling Observer Live. You know, honestly, Tom, you can't feel too bad, buddy, because you weren't the only one. As I do my best Brian Alvarez impression, you weren't the only one to fail the Empire on Friday night. Rocky Romero's reign as the NWA Historic World Welterweight Champion came to an end after 330 days on Friday night as he lost to Mascarada Dorada in 18 minutes and 32 seconds. Cubs fan, the premier English source for Lucha News, spoke his piece on Rocky Romero and where he stands in this year's Wrestler of the Year from Mexico. You can vote for whoever you want, and there's deserving people like Mystico, like Vikingo, but Romero not only had the matches, but primarily against Volador Jr., but he also had a very crucial role in helping Panarita Del Ring become Mascara Dorada 2.0, and he also helped make Friday nights in Arena Mexico kind of hot again. And I mean, I know you don't want to give too much credit to Rocky Romero here, but you got to say the man has had a hell of a year.
Unfortunately, I have not had the time to view that match between Mascara Dorada 2.0 and Rocky, but I have heard that it was match of the year quality from what I've seen of Rocky in the CMLL arena, in the CMLL ring, against Volador, against Mystico, against a variety of people. He's been at the top of his game, and the crowd there is so hot when he's wrestling that you can't help but get into these matches. It's some of the best that you'll see all year.
I know it's not exactly the right way to do things, but when you look at Promoter of the Year and you see what that guy did to bring over the Junior Festival over to North America, the way that he has lined himself up and is an intermediary between independent groups in Mexico, the United States, and Japan, you could argue in a way that Rocky Romero is the Promoter of the Year, certainly for himself. Guess what, everybody? Filthy Tom and I are going to be back tomorrow on Wrestling Observer Live.